Streaming. Okay. So in theory we're live, but as Daniel was saying earlier when we were streaming to the wrong channel, is that what is live, guys? What is alive is the question. Okay, I think I just heard an email notification. Yes. Okay, we are confirmed as live. So, hello everybody. Welcome to WordCast number 52. This is the year WordCast. We have been doing WordCast for a lot longer than a year, but hey, it's, you know, a year worth of WordCast because it's number 52. Get it? We don't have anything like super special planned, unfortunately. There just wasn't. You know, there's a lot of news and we're pretty excited for that, but we don't have any giveaways or any other special announcements other than, I guess, probably something I'll talk about at the end is I'm bringing some stuff back from the way the channel used to be, so be pretty excited for that. And then you guys will see a video on Monday as well. I'm going to be reviewing some headphones, so I'm also excited for that. But anyway, yeah, a whole lot of news today. We've got... let's see, Cambridge Analytica, we've got CTS Labs, we've got a bunch of AMD news, a bunch of NVIDIA news, as well as monitor news, like a pile of PC hardware. Pretty excited for that, actually, which I guess is, you know, sensible considering this is a primarily PC hardware channel, so yeah. It makes sense that we have a lot of it, and it was a pretty big week for that, actually, so I am indeed quite excited for it. Do you have anything special that you're going to be talking about? Because I know you threw some things in here. You threw some things in here.
Yeah, some mobile stuff. I mean, I'll talk about the Cambridge Analytica stuff.
Right,
mostly.
Which you know more about than me.
There's a TV that I wanted to add into this, but I didn't put in the dock yet.
Okay.
So,
well, there's a TV?
Yeah.
Really? Is it something special?
It's a refresh of pretty low-cost TV that's even better. That's HDR. Built in,
okay,
like
that's exciting. That's worthy to talk about.
Well, yeah, that's why I put it in the dock.
I mean,
I'm going to put. I was.
That's
going
why
to put
you
it in
were
the dock.
going to. Please don't say the wrong thing. That'd be a bad move. That'd be a bad thing. You know that. So anyway, yeah, we're just gonna kind of you know, we'll get started here pretty quick, but just kind of waiting to make sure everybody kind of joins in. Anybody that was looking out for the live stream. We've got somebody else here now. We do need like an intro we can roll. That would be something that I should have set up by the year podcast. That would have been a good idea. Why didn't you make
Just do it by the 100 at least.
I'll have one soon. I'm getting into Adobe After Effects now, so I'm going to be making a new intro for the channel as well as a new intro for this and other stuff like that. So that's also pretty exciting, actually. That's pretty big news. So anyway, yeah, I guess we can jump into the first topic here. So, oh, your phone's on, bud.
Yeah, my phone is on.
Professionalism, right?
It was also you.
It was me?
Yeah.
Why was it me?
Professionalism, bud.
Yeah. We're being extremely professional since it's our 50-second podcast.
Yeah.
Is a special one.
Well, technically, we did have a bunch of those smaller ones when you kept the stuff.
When I kept, yeah, we had like, what was it? It was like 37.1, 37.2, something like that. It was somewhere in that range, and that was pretty funny. That was a funny moment, actually. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So the first news topic. Do you want to talk about Cambridge first, or do you want to talk about it later? I don't know where
we can talk about it later.
Okay.
I just wanted you to put it in the title.
Yeah, I should have put it in the title, but I didn't. I probably should also adjust the title that's outdated by a while on the Twitch one.
Yeah.
That'd be a good idea. So, here, let's fix that really quick for our most prepared professional podcast. Right?
Whatever that means.
I mean, it means
those are words.
Those are words that mean something. That's for sure.
Somebody.
So, yeah. Also, I have a text of something from a friend that I'm supposed to announce on WordCast.
Don't read it first. Just read it out loud.
Okay, yeah, so I did, yes, Alex, I got the picture, not the Alex you know, I got the picture, yes, I just talked about the fact that this is our 52nd live stream. Thank you for reminding me that it is a year, though. I appreciate it. It's good to know, you know, that somebody else knows, apparently. So yeah, that's cool. So anyway, yeah, so I guess we can jump into the first topic here now. There's some people that have kind of joined in here, so we will go ahead and do that. So, CTS Labs. We talked about them last week a little bit. There wasn't a lot of details that we really knew. We just talked about, I'd read the white paper and we talked about this, but CTS Labs is a security research firm, company, whatever you want to call them, scam artist. They released a press release, basically, as well as a white paper about AMD security flaws under the domain name amdflaws.com. So already a little unprofessional there. They gave AMD 24 hours notice about 13 security vulnerabilities that AMD had, as well as the ASMedia chipset that was, the chipset for AMD stuff that was made by ASMedia, which is funny because that chipset's on millions of Intel motherboards as well, but they didn't talk about that. They talked about it being an AMD problem. That was a funny thing. So anyway, we got a lot more news on this, though, in terms of AMD's official response. There's also an interview with AnandTech, I believe. I think it was AnandTech. That basically interviewed them, and they just sound like scam artists. They sound very sketchy. Some of the responses that they had to things just didn't make realistic sense. And were flat-out lies, like saying that there was export laws in Israel so that they couldn't talk about they couldn't talk about the security vulnerabilities with AnandTech, I believe is what it was, because of export laws or something, which is just complete BS. So anyway, AMD's official response is that there's 3 categories of vulnerabilities, not the 13 that CTS Labs made it sound like. Of course, there are 13 technical flaws, but realistically, they fall into 3 categories. CTS claims 4, but realistically, Ryzen Fall and Fallout are the same dang thing. Basically, that right there tells you that CTS Labs, they took these vulnerabilities and they just broke them down to the lowest little bit they could so that they could make it sound like 13 major flaws, when it's like, not really, you know? I mean, come on. So anyway, you know, it's like, you know, say your motherboard breaks in your computer, and so you name every component on the motherboard is a flawed component or a broken component. It's just, that's not the case. So anyway, all 3 of them require an already compromised system. We already talked about this. They require administrative privileges and even in some cases a BIOS flash.
Which means your system's already compromised.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm sorry if they have access to that stuff. You're screwed anyway. It's like, it was bad. So anyway, all 3 require already compromised system. AMD wanted to make that clear in their press release, which I will actually read. Well, how long is it? It's a little lengthy. I'm not going to read the whole thing, you guys. But basically, summing it up, Master Key will be fixed with a BIOS update. Ryzen Fall and Fallout will be fixed with a BIOS update. Chimera will be fixed with a BIOS update. So basically, there's going to be a BIOS update, and these won't be a thing anymore. It's fine. It's not a hardware-level failure that AMD needs to go fix. CTS Labs, it was completely exaggeratory, or whatever, even if that's a word. I don't know. Point was, it's complete BS. So anyway, just as we thought, it's very, very, very sketchy on every front and in every way, shape, and form. Do you have any comments on it, though?
I can't say I'm surprised that this is all getting fixed this quickly. It seems like it was pretty basic stuff.
Right.
Literally, if they would have just reported this like normal, it would have been fixed.
It would have been
within the time frame that is normally given.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
for some reason, my copy-paste grabbed... So I had the title of the video copy-pasted, but for some reason, it pasted... I don't even know what it pasted. I think I just texted my friend like 12 messages because it somehow grabbed all of that in one message.
What?
Yes. So the thing is, I copy and pasted the title and I put it over in Twitch and it was fine, right? Sorry, it was fine.
Oh, because you copied it from YouTube and it grabbed to the auto playlist.
Did it?
That's what it's saying.
Oh.
Like if you go back to the message.
This isn't updating it. Yeah, I guess you're right. Okay.
If you go back, it has the title at the end, but then if you go up,
you're right. It says how many views.
Yeah, it's the autoplay. Up next autoplay.
Yeah, I just blew up my friend's phone without meaning to.
Well, hopefully they have a phone that can take all those as one message.
I'm not sure. I can't remember what network he's on.
It's nothing. All the networks support it now. Pretty much. It's if you have a newer or an older.
Well, he has a Windows phone, but it's a new Windows phone.
I'm sorry.
It's a newer Windows phone.
Can you get a real phone?
I am so sorry if I actually did that to you, though. Oh, man.
Take Ethan's broken BlackBerry. It would be better.
Why? It keeps grabbing it. It's like it's grabbing, like, Anyway, yeah, so it's weird because it does... Well, yeah, but it won't paste that in Twitch, because, like, if I refresh Twitch here...
Twitch is like, no, you're giving us too much.
No, but it won't... Twitch is being weird about it. Twitch, like, logged me out automatically, too.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on right now.
And well, like, Ethan has problems.
Yeah, you talk about something while I fix all these pile of problems.
I'll just talk about something random...
fun.
I'll talk about a cell phone thing.
Okay, sounds good. Cell phone thing. He's talking about a cell phone thing.
You don't need to repeat that. Jesus,
I'm sorry.
Even stop burping.
What? I didn't burp.
It's like a...
It's a running joke.
Yeah. He burps a lot. It's annoying. Best Buy...
My title won't update on Twitch, dude. It's really weird.
Cool story, bro. Just type it out.
No, like it won't...
Type.
No, I copied it directly from the edit
I understand
page.
That.
So...
Try typing. Hey, it edits!
No, I mean, but if I click done...
Uh-huh.
It's not changing it.
But type it out.
That's not helping. Anyway,
you don't know. You haven't tried it.
Keep talking about what you're talking about.
Best Buy has ceased ordering Huawei phones. Now, if you haven't been following or if you haven't watched some of the previous episodes, there's been a lot going on with Huawei recently.
Yeah.
In that the U.S. government has supposedly shared evidence with AT&T, for example, Verizon, as to the fact that Huawei is potentially compromised by the Chinese government. If this is all true, that's obviously very concerning if they're doing work for the Chinese government as far as like surveillance or something goes within the U.S. And so the U.S. government has been making a big push to stop Huawei phones from being sold where they can, to stop them from working on back ends of networks, which Huawei normally does.
Yep.
And what's interesting is it's only Huawei so far out of all the Chinese cell phone manufacturers. I mean, like, ZTE is still sold.
Yeah, and that's what makes me seem like there's got to be some kind of, like, more, like, fairly concrete evidence. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it would be just block Chinese companies.
Or if there wasn't something specific being shared with the carriers, they would just say, but profit.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So it would surprise me if there wasn't some form of legitimacy behind this.
Yeah, which is concerning. Best Buy obviously won't comment on this situation. They aren't commenting on whether or not they did it. However, they aren't selling the phone, so they obviously did. They also won't comment as to why. We pretty much know why, since it's happening with other carriers. But it's just a really interesting situation. Right now, at least, you can still buy them through places like Amazon. You can still buy them through Newegg. We'll have to see if that changes at all, though. B&H Photo also sells Huawei stuff still. But losing Best Buy after losing the two current biggest carriers is pretty kind of
a big deal. Yeah. Like, just a little deal.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's kind of weird. But I think there's some standpoint behind it.
We've never really seen anything like this, at least that has come out publicly.
No, you're right.
So
exactly, we haven't.
This is kind of unprecedented, and we don't really...
Yep.
It'd be really weird if this wasn't actually... If there wasn't actually something sketchy going on, and this was happening.
Yeah, exactly. So kind of sketchy, if you ask me. But, yeah, so anyway, yeah, that's kind of interesting. Typing. Okay, so I wanted to talk about GrayKey. Did you read into this at all? Do you know what this is at all?
Nope.
Okay, so there's this thing called GrayKey, G-R-A-Y key. Well, yeah, key, but I meant to say K-E-Y, not key. Anyway, is a tool that allows you to unlock any iPhone, including newer ones. So basically, it uses some zero-day brute force security flaws in the iPhone, and it takes like 2 hours to 3 days, depending on the password length or if it's a passcode. But basically, just it has the capability of brute forcing the iPhone without being denied the ability to try again, so to speak. So anyway, it's a device that likely law enforcement is going to get their hands on, and then it's able to copy the contents of the phone. It has a web GUI that can be viewed, so it can be internet connected. So you can use this as an internet connected device and then view a device. It's pretty sketchy. Now, there's also an offline version that, if potentially stolen from law enforcement and the like, could be used by criminals to get a hold of people's data and other stuff like that, because it doesn't report back to any kind of server, so it just is able to do it. So, I don't know. I mean, it's maybe... If this works, the question becomes, should Apple fix it? Which sounds like a weird question to ask. Why would I be like, why shouldn't they? But law enforcement has been begging Apple and other companies for backdoors into their products, right? Mm-hmm. And that's something we don't want. There's no such thing as, encryption that's secure and also has a backdoor, right? Like, that kind of stuff doesn't exist. But in this case, unless this ends up being duplicated commonly by criminals, isn't this better than an inherent backdoor that the government's trying to force on Apple? And so my question is, if Apple patches this and fixes this, there's going to be a harder push from law enforcement to have some sort of backdoor. If Apple doesn't fix this, maybe this is more secure than a hard-coded backdoor. Keep in mind,
even if this doesn't somehow get stolen directly, now that they know that there's something with they know some of the details, they can specifically target this. And then as things improve, they might find ways to do it faster.
Right, exactly.
And there's a lot of potential with this to get worse over time. Yeah. That's the problem with pretty much any exploit, even if it's a long-term brute force one, is that the long term is for right now.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's my question, though, is with something that is a physical unit, chances are somebody else is going to figure out how to do it. But until then, maybe Apple should have a patch ready and wait. I don't know. I have a weird feeling about this, because normally I'm like, fix everything immediately. They probably will. They probably should. It's just an interesting question to be, at the point where we could potentially ask, is a security flaw better than an inherent backdoor? Probably not.
They're both security flaws.
They're both security flaws, technically speaking.
They both allow people to get access.
Yeah. One's purposeful, though.
I mean, it was an accident that they chose to leave like that. Not really a purposeful decision.
Yeah, no, right. And that's true. So, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird, kind of sketchy. So all you guys on iPhone, that we're all like, oh, well, iPhone's fighting law enforcement for me because they care about my privacy. Well, for the time being, you're screwed.
I 100% expect Apple to fix this.
I 100% I expect Apple to fix it too. But right now, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just thought it'd be something fun to mention.
Okay.
So anyway, now we get into the fun part, though. We get into the PC hardware, which is obviously the bigger focus of this channel. Anybody that follows us consistently.
Wasn't the CTS Labs topic technically PC hardware?
I mean, the CTS Labs is technically PC hardware in a way.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, hardware announcements, but okay.
But this isn't an announcement. This is a leak.
Okay. I'm just gonna...
I love getting technical on him just to annoy him.
Okay, so some of the first X470 motherboards from Asus have been leaked. X470 being AMD's next chipset for their next platform. It's still going to be using the AM4 socket. Pretty exciting. Doesn't look like a whole lot of new features. I'll read off some of the stuff that was talked about here. The manuals for them were leaked on a forum, or at least part of the manual. And it looks to be some features that are nice. I mean, it's not a big upgrade. If you have an X370 board right now, no, you shouldn't upgrade. There's no reason to. You put the new CPU with the same socket in your motherboard if you really want a more powerful CPU. There's no reason to upgrade. Obviously, this is not any kind of announcement for like a X499 or something like that on the high-end desktop platform with the TR4 socket. So anyway, the dual M.2 this time, which we did see on some motherboards with the X370 setup, but anyway, this time it's a little bit different. So on any of the boards that had multiple M.2 sockets on the X370 motherboards, we would see one that was like PCI Express by 4, PCI Express 3.0 by 4, and then we'd see another one that would be SATA based, which is not really exactly what we were, looking for, of course. So anyway, this time around, you're looking at first, you still have that single PCIe 3.0 by 4 slot, but you also have a PCIe 3.0 by 2 slot, which is enough for some of the various NVMe drives out there, M.2 based ones, some of the slower ones, or potentially like the Intel 800P, which is an Optane 3D Crosspoint based drive. It is a PCI Express by 2 interface in and of itself. So this would work just fine for that. You're not going to see any speed difference because it's not configured for anything faster than this anyway. It's cool to just see the ability to have another fast M.2 drive in there. I still think that it's a little bit of a limit and a little bit of a frustration, so to speak, for me, because personally, with being such high core count chips on the mainstream Ryzen platform, I think having massive storage expandability is really important, because people that are going to be getting an 8-core system likely are getting it for an editing rig, and an editing rig, the ideal editing situation is having more than one SSD.
Yeah.
Now, of course, you could still do more than one SSD. You could do a SATA-based SSD, like a 2.5-inch. You could potentially do that as your boot drive or as your editing drive, depending on the speeds you needed. But, whatever. DDR4 frequencies have been increased up to 3466 megahertz support with the 2nd-gen Ryzen CPUs. Obviously, not technically supported with the 1st-gen, which is up from the 2667 that we saw on the original Ryzen parts, the 1000 series from Ryzen. Nice to see a RAM frequency jump. That's something that, as we know, with the Infinity Fabric, provides a huge benefit in performance for Ryzen, because the Infinity Fabric matches RAM clock speed, sort of. I won't get into the details of it, but basically, a faster RAM speed actually does provide a pretty noticeable improvement in performance on AMD's current Zen architecture versus what Intel is running right now, where it's somewhat negligible depending on the workload. In AMD, you generally do get a pretty solid bump up there. So yeah, it's a relatively minor upgrade. It's not a huge deal, and you definitely shouldn't upgrade if you have an X370 board, but at least, we have the option to now. So it's kind of nice to just see some new stuff, I suppose. So anyway, I suppose.
Yeah.
I suppose. I mean, I'm excited to see it. Maybe these are going to be lower end parts, and maybe we're going to see some really high end parts come out that will have more features. But it doesn't seem like the chipset is really much different. So, excuse me. So I don't know.
Pretty much, if you have a current AMD motherboard for Ryzen, you probably shouldn't upgrade until Thunderbolt.
Yeah, maybe
which
so.
Is probably
although
next year.
Thunderbolt, if it comes out next year, I don't think they're gonna update. Yeah, like they're not gonna update X470 with it, of course. So if you're on X370, just wait.
Yeah.
But if you need a new system when X470 is around, obviously buy X470. Don't wait at that point.
Unless you can get a really good deal on X370.
Yeah, I mean maybe so, yeah. But point is, like, don't wait for the Thunderbolt.
I'm saying, like,
upgrade,
if you're already on Ryzen, then you don't need to upgrade to this. Yeah. The only upcoming feature that we know of that's very likely to happen is Thunderbolt.
Yeah, which is exciting. Yeah. I hope that happens. I think that would be a great expansion option.
If AMD doesn't do it, it's literally just because they don't want to do it because it's Intel's.
Because yeah, exactly. I mean,
for those that don't know, Intel is making it not open source but free to use.
Right.
So you do not pay a licensing fee. So we could see phones with Thunderbolt, every laptop.
Which I think makes sense. I think Intel's approaching, they're doing something right. Holy shit.
My theory is what they're gonna do is probably 6 months to a year after this is out in products, they'll announce the Thunderbolt 4. It'll be Intel exclusive initially. And then every time they'll upgrade the free Thunderbolt.
Right, okay.
They might not do that. They might just, every time there's a new Thunderbolt, make it open immediately.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if Intel...
If they do something
even if it was just for a year, they gave themselves Thunderbolt temporarily a better version. As long as they keep the port the same and keep it backwards compatible,
it's not a big deal at that point. Yeah, it's like it's still a benefit to all of us, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, what I was gonna comment though on you saying it's just because AMD doesn't want to do it at that point. If they don't, I do think that there are other technical challenges, and maybe when it's because if it goes open source next year, it takes time to create the chipsets that can handle that.
No, it's going open. It's going open middle or early this year.
Okay, good point. But still, it does take time to develop that, so it depends if the company puts money into it or not. Yeah.
Which is if they want to.
Which is,
I suppose, it's a benefit to their users.
It is. Yeah.
And it's probably something
especially
they can
on
use
mobile
to sell
platforms.
new motherboards.
Yeah, right.
And laptops.
And I think laptops. Yeah, I think it's especially a huge benefit for laptops in my opinion. Thunderbolt. Like if I didn't have an already big SSD in this, and I was going to be editing footage, and maybe even in the future as this SSD fills up, I'm going to want like a Thunderbolt based SSD in order to do my editing from.
Yeah.
So
I think that Apple's move for Thunderbolt all the ports on laptops was fine. I just think it was done too early.
It was done too early, and it was problematic when it was just one of them on the MacBook.
Well, that was
they
the
had
regular
two.
MacBook. I'm talking about more like the Pro.
I know you're talking about the Pro, but even so, like with the regular MacBook, they could have fixed it just by two. You'd be good. I wouldn't have complained at that point. I would have been like, okay.
Yeah.
But it's just.
But
yeah.
I do believe that every port should be Thunderbolt if it's not going to cost money.
Yeah, I think that just at that point
every phone
it makes
should use
sense
Thunderbolt,
because it
every
literally is
desktop,
one tiny port that does everything that you could possibly need it to. Realistically, we should see laptops with Thunderbolt and 3.5 millimeter.
Now, what I'm hoping for, and I know that Intel will do it when they start selling graphics cards, but I want NVIDIA and AMD to put a Thunderbolt port on their graphics card. For video output. That way you can just have Thunderbolt monitors.
Thunderbolt everywhere would be really nice.
Yes.
It really would be. And there's enough power delivery over that. You could power some monitors based on that. And so I would also like to see laptops with like 4 of them that you can charge in any of the ports. Yeah. You know, and you know, again, it's just really like 4 Thunderbolt ports and like a 3.5 millimeter on a laptop. You're golden. And preferably an SD card reader. Yeah. Preferably that's still necessary.
And
you know?
Think about if from your computer, from a desktop, you had an Ethernet cable, and then a cable going from your GPU to your monitor, and your monitor was where you plugged in anything that you needed quick access to.
Right, exactly.
That was your USB, that was your data transfer.
Now, of course, that does depend on what monitor you're running, because some are going to use enough bandwidth that you might not have enough left to do much other than maybe your
this is what's going to give higher bandwidth PCI Express, I feel like, more use, is especially if we see, you know, graphics cards using 75% of the PCI bandwidth. And then we see the monitor specifically used.
So what you're telling me is AMD's intelligent by putting more PCI Express lanes on their CPUs.
Well, I'm not telling you that, but that is also a correct statement.
Yes. No, I mean, because at that point, you know, it's like I'm over there with Threadripper. I've got 64 PCIe lanes. Yeah. Anything that happens, I can use. Now, what I would love to personally see is a PCI Express Thunderbolt adapter when it goes open source. Yeah. That's something that should release, and I'm sure will.
Yeah. I was more so talking about higher bandwidth, like PCI Express 5 and things like that, because the more that you can have one card do, the better. And we're not going to see cards that utilize more than 16 lanes.
At least in theory. Yeah, for a while.
Until they need more bandwidth than PCI 5. Assuming they can't get PCI 6 done when it's scheduled.
I mean, yeah. Things with PCI have been keeping up pretty well. Yeah. What hasn't been keeping up is how many lanes you have on your CPU. Yeah. Now it kind of is, thanks to AMD primarily. Although, of course, Intel does have more PCI Express 3.0 lanes on their chipset that connects to the CPU through the DMI link. And so, in that case, you know, you can actually have more M.2 full-speed SSDs on a mainstream Intel platform than you can on a mainstream AMD platform, which I do kind of find that ironic, even though the mainstream AMD platform has, you know, more PCI Express lanes. But, of course, at that point, if that's really a limit for you, you probably should just jump up to like an 8-core Threadripper because it's not that much more expensive. Or be a baller and get an 1950X like I did.
But, yeah. X470 is pretty cool, but unless you're buying a brand new computer,
it's just not worth it. So, interestingly enough, we finally have an external GPU dock that is Radeon built. Not built by Radeon.
Let's put the GPP portion of this as a kind of a separate topic directly after.
Yes. That's why I was going to talk about this first. We do have some GPP stuff to talk about that's related to this product that I'm talking about. So this new product is out from Gigabyte. It is called the Gigabyte Gaming Box, and it's housing a AMD Radeon RX 580 8GB. It's overclocked a little bit, so a pretty powerful GPU. That's actually what I use in my main system. It's not super overkill, but it's enough to get the job done in the majority of titles on high settings or ultra settings. It's also got a 3-port USB 3.0 hub, USB 3.1 port with quick charge, 450 watt internal power supply. I do find that a little overkill because remember, these include the GPU. Now, of course, you can upgrade the GPU in these, but they do include the GPU, and so I just feel like 450 watts, I can't imagine any GPU that could fit in this thing actually consuming anything more than like 200 watts or so, even under a really intense overclock. Maybe 250.
Yeah, if it did Thunderbolt output as well, I might see why they would have done that. But well, I guess
it has a quick charge output.
Well, and it can do Thunderbolt charging of the laptop. Yeah, so it has to serve as a laptop charger and.
Okay, that's true. That's true. Okay, so I guess that's understandable. It's still more than I think what like Razer does in their external dock though. I think they have a 350 watt in theirs.
Yeah, it's specifically 100 watts to charge the PC,
which is actually good because
And
I think some of
then-
them aren't output. They're only outputting like 60 watts,
Yeah.
so that
Yeah.
is helpful. Okay, that's understandable then. And then it's got HDMI 2.0 and 3 DisplayPort 1.4s on the back from the RX 580. Obviously, if you swap out the GPU, those will change, and it's got RGB LEDs because. What do you expect? So it's pretty cool. It's nice to see an external GPU dock that includes an AMD GPU rather than just ones that include NVIDIA GPUs. It's the first one that I know of, at least, that includes it. I like the way that Gigabyte is packaging this as rather than just here's a dock that you have to mount a GPU in, which, albeit is very easy.
Yeah.
But I like the way that Gigabyte is marketing their gaming box line, where it's like, you're a gamer, you need something on the go, and you plug it in your PC and everything just functions.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to really know.
And if you're a
what
miner,
doing.
you can buy this and just throw it on your laptop.
Exactly. There you go. You can mine on your laptop. Woo! But the nice thing is these are actually a lot smaller than like Razer's option 2. So if you want it as like a LAN machine, you know, if you don't have a powerful GPU, like I've got a 1050 in this, but say I had like an XPS 13 with just the quad core i7 instead and no dedicated GPU. Get the little dock, put it in my bag with me when I go to, you know, a little LAN party. I mean, they mostly happen here, but you get the point, and then you're good to go.
Yeah.
So,
And the single most important thing about this product, it comes with a carrying bag.
it does come with a carrying bag. Yeah. So, and I mean, it's pretty awesome. I actually really do like the gaming box. Now we can jump into the GPP portion of this. I wrote up an article about this actually on the website. Some suspicion and some evidence towards the suspicion of NVIDIA's GPP. So, in case you guys don't know what NVIDIA GPP is, it's the GeForce Partner Program. We talked about it last week on the show, but basically, it's a NVIDIA partnership program with their Atom board partners for their GPUs, as well as assuming laptop manufacturers and stuff like that. We can assume. We don't know if it's just. You know, it's likely not just specifically GPU-oriented in terms of dedicated graphics cards. It's anything that uses an NVIDIA GPU. And so there was some sketchy information that came out about that. NVIDIA's claim is basically they want to simplify marketing better because they want the gamer to understand what they're buying. Now, I do actually, there was a point I heard, and I believe it was Wendell that made it on Level 1 Techs, so full credit goes to him because I was listening to their show today. But he mentioned something that I think actually made a lot of sense. Is as a gamer, even as a pretty minimal gamer, if you're buying a graphics card, you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, you have a system integrator build you a system. And so at that point, I actually kind of agree with his point of basically saying that if it does force the alignment of gaming brands, it's a little bit dumb what they're saying, the reasoning behind it is, because no gamer goes out and is like, oh, I don't know what to buy between these two. One's bright green, one's bright red. I want NVIDIA. What color is NVIDIA? You know what I mean?
But keep in mind, like with the topic of like system integrators,
being
able to say, buy Asus's ROG Ares lineup. And then they go on the system integrators light and they see ROG Ares.
No, so
Makes
there's
it
some
very
understanding there.
simple.
Yeah.
And as we had talked about last week, the biggest thing for us was trying to figure out where the line was, because the Hard OCP article seemed to indicate it was at the full like gaming brand, so like Asus ROG.
Asus ROG would be exclusive to NVIDIA.
Yes.
That was the idea. That was the impression that Hard OCP gave us. And of course, the information that he said was directly from, he quoted something, and I don't remember the exact quote, but it was basically, Atom board partners must align their gaming brand exclusively with NVIDIA.
Yeah.
But their gaming brand doesn't mean their gaming lineup. It could be a specific thing. And so like he's saying, where the line
falls. Ares is a brand with it as a sub-brand within ROG.
Just like
which
Strix.
is a sub-brand.
Just like Strix is a sub-brand in ROG.
And Ares, or ROG, is a sub-brand of Asus.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of question of where that line was, because if you're saying, okay, no ROG products can be AMD,
that's a problem.
Yeah, that's a huge thing.
Huge thing.
And for companies that don't have a brand below, like Asus does with ROG, and then their brands below that, does that mean that like you can't have a Gigabyte AMD card? If that if it's the top tier brand?
So that's the question. So it starts to make you wonder, like, and I mean, I still am not comfortable with it, even if it's just like the Strix lineup. That's my personal opinion. But I'm much more to the point of, okay, this isn't probably illegal. This isn't probably as sketchy as we thought.
Yeah.
But
And then for reference, so PC Games N did a post stating it was where they had spoken to people, and it was the sub brand specifically, and that's why there was that confusion, because one article's from a very trusted source is saying it's the gaming brand.
Yes.
And then one article from a kind of less trusted source was that it was the sub brand, and then another outlet had asked NVIDIA what was going on, and NVIDIA didn't give like a formal response, but instead they linked to the PC Games N article indicating it was a sub brand. So in a way, well, in a very poor way, their response was that it was the sub brand.
Yes, yeah.
And now we're starting to see products with name differences that indicate it is very likely the sub brand, although we still have to wait and get more information.
Right. So, like, a good example of something that just happened recently is if you go over to MSI's UK site, not the US site. It hasn't changed on the US site as of about 3 hours ago. It could have by now. But yesterday, there was a Reddit post and noting that the MSI UK site removed their gaming lineup. They actually have a lineup called gaming. Not like their gaming cards, but I mean their branded card, the MSI gaming blank. That lineup is only NVIDIA cards listed on their site now. So if you go to MSI UK and you look for AMD cards in specific, you're not going to see any of the gaming branded cards.
Yeah.
Now, that's a little bit extreme what happened there, but of course,
if they don't have a sub-brand, then they choose how they handle that. And
yes.
What I was talking to him about, now I didn't get a chance to look more into this, but I did see some people mentioning on Reddit that they've started seeing at like local shops, starting to see title changes that were like Gaming X Radeon.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it seems like they might have just made a simple move of just adding Radeon to the end of the to the
and
brand,
of course, which
is
MSI
probably the best way to do it.
MSI, if you're listening, what you guys need to do is you need to have your MSI gaming brand is your brand for NVIDIA. And for AMD, you need to have the MSI Gamer brand. And that's all AMD products.
Yeah.
No. But I mean by that point, I mean, realistically, if the GPP isn't illegal, that is something MSI could do.
Yeah.
Technically speaking. It's just basically
that's something every company could do, is just add Radeon to the end of it, and it's very simple at that point. And it's a very easy way to not have to do a lot of extra work.
Right. And so from our understanding, it seems more like, NVIDIA's just like, hey, we want a brand from you that's just our products. Yeah, we don't want our products mixed in the same brand name in terms of the
essentially,
series.
It seems like if we're going to give you the benefit of quicker access and more feedback with us on these cards, we want to be able to advertise your cards. If we're giving you a benefit, we want to ensure they sell more.
But they don't want to advertise MSI Gaming GTX 1080 Ti. Yes. They want to advertise MSI Gaming.
And then that's
just simple, and that's an NVIDIA card.
And it works for everything from dedicated GPUs to people that don't know what they're buying and are getting it from a system integrator or even at a store.
And it still bugs me a little, to be honest, but I just don't like a company using its power in a way to kind of manipulate the market, but this is much less worrisome, right?
AMD needs to take advantage of this. If brands are going to be specific to AMD, then they should be advertising those too.
Yes,
and
agreed,
I think that they'll probably do that.
They probably will. Now, you may be wondering, how the heck does the Gigabyte Gaming Box fit into this story? So, I wanted to mention that there because we segued from that for a reason. So, there has been the Aorus gaming box for a while. Aorus, A-O-R-U-S, is Gigabyte's like high-end brand, so to speak. It kind of started off as a high-end brand. Now it's just kind of another Gigabyte subsidiary. But basically, there was the Aorus gaming box, and it was NVIDIA parts. And then all of a sudden, they released the exact same product, but with an RX 580 slotted in it from AMD, and suddenly it's the Gigabyte gaming box with the Gigabyte logo on it. And so that was like, okay, that's a little weird, but of course, I don't know. I have a feeling, so like, if Aorus as a brand, and this is where it gets sketchy, is like what we were just talking about with MSI, like if they have to make another brand, that's fine. Aorus is as high level as ROG. So if Aorus is a brand that's restricted to NVIDIA only, that's not really cool.
Yeah.
But then again, it depends on whether or not that's NVIDIA forcing that, or if Gigabyte's choosing to make Aorus an NVIDIA brand at this point, and is going to make something else.
Yeah, and what's interesting, if you look on their website, all of their AMD stuff is just gaming on Gigabyte. So Gigabyte took MSI's name for AMD and left Aorus as just a sub-brand for NVIDIA.
So, yeah, which, that bothers me because Aorus it's as high level as ROG.
Except it's not because they chose not to have sub-brands under it.
Okay, that's true.
I would agree with you, except
but Aorus is a
Gigabyte
separate brand. Like, they have a separate site for Aorus specifically.
Yes,
for Aorus products.
Gigabyte makes the choice of how they deal with the branding of it. They obviously just can't have them be the same.
Right,
and
right.
They chose to make it a separate thing rather than just making it a sub-brand of Aorus.
Yes.
They do still specify Aorus on their site. Like, even on the Gigabyte site, they just say Aorus as a separate option.
And you don't see any AMD cards there, correct?
They have some.
Okay.
They have the 580, 570, so the newer ones. They just don't have
it looks
anywhere
like nothing
near
older
as many.
than that, though, yeah.
Well, yeah, but they also only are listing the 10 series on this right now.
Right, okay, that makes sense. Aorus is the higher end brand, so it's actually understandable that that's the case. But, so the idea was just that product, I wrote an article about that product in specific, saying that maybe it's a little sketchy, but we weren't really sure, and we can't know for, it was just some evidence that we kind of had piled up there. So, anyway, let's see, we got a comment here. Okay, so, B Blessing says, just before I die, I'm going to eat a bag of popcorn kernels just to make the cremation a little more interesting. Normally I wouldn't read comments like that out loud, but I appreciate your cleverness. Good on ya. Good man. I think that'd be hilarious.
Can you get someone to record it? Put that in your will.
That'd be a little weird, wouldn't it? We got 4 people watching on Twitch now.
Nice.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Twitch is better than YouTube.
I mean, it's true. Twitch has more viewers than YouTube right now.
It's also better.
I mean, it is also better for live stuff.
Yeah.
I agree.
One thing I want to add to the GPP talk,
Yeah.
if you're looking into this and you go to, especially if you go on the AMD or NVIDIA subreddit, expect bias.
Absolutely. Everybody has a bias.
Like, for example, on the AMD subreddit, where they're trying to post all the evidence they can of this, they specifically link to Gigabyte's, I think it's their France website, but of one of their foreign websites, stating that from that they've removed all of the Aorus cards, even though I literally clicked on Aorus and found multiple, and they're all the newer series, just like all the NVIDIA cards.
A lot of them
are the newer
aren't.
series.
Yeah, a lot of them aren't checking. A lot of them aren't investigating. Like
Yeah.
there was a Reddit post that we originally had found out about the MSI UK stuff, but the Reddit post was just MSI removed all their gaming cards from, or all their AMD gaming cards. And it was like, whoa, wait a minute. So we immediately went to the US site. We're like, no, they're all over there. We checked the UK site and went, oh, they're all gone. But people aren't being specific. People are blowing it out of proportions on either side. So keep that in mind when researching this subject here, is there is an inherent bias. And, we on our website, along with, the videos here and stuff, we try to be as unbiased as possible, of course. And so, really, though, we need more information before we can really know for sure how bad or how okay this is. I don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah, this is a really weird thing, too, with the way that they linked it.
Uh-huh.
If you go directly to their link, it doesn't show the Aorus cards, even, like, on the first page.
Yes, but that's because that's under the AMD section.
No, I know.
Yeah.
But if I click on the Radeon 500 series, as if you were searching for it on their site...
Yeah.
Aorus.
Then they come up. Yeah. So that's just...
It's like, I don't even know how you get to the link just for the AMD series. Because when you click on the AMD series, it doesn't actually, take you to the link for... Like, let me go to Aorus, and then let me click on AMD series. It's not a link.
It's not a link. It's just a drop
So
down.
I don't even know how they got to the one single page that doesn't show Aorus.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
That's the
I don't
type
know,
of thing
honestly.
where it's like... This is one of the many situations with all types of news that... And I don't think this was intentionally. I'm assuming they clicked on something and it brought them there.
Yeah, exactly.
They probably searched Gigabyte AMD or something in their country.
Yeah.
But that...
They got there somehow. It's not like they were looking for a link to prove something wrong.
Especially when it's Reddit or any other, random users posting information. You can't trust that news.
Yeah, exactly. There's going to be an inherent bias. Some people have favors in different directions. And, of course, there is the fanboyism, and then there's the bias towards a company because of, past record, or a bias towards a company because you maybe believe in what they believe in a little bit more. And that's a little bit of a evidence-backed bias, so to speak.
Yeah.
But it's still an inherent bias. And there's still people, I'll admit, I prefer AMD as a company over NVIDIA and Intel because of what they do do and what I have seen them over time do. Now, I try to be as unbiased as possible, but that's going to give me an inherent thought of, oh, it wouldn't surprise me if NVIDIA was acting like a monopoly, but it would if it was AMD because of past experience, but that doesn't necessarily make that the case. And so there's, even from people that are just journalists or people that are trying to be unbiased, there's going to be an inherent bias there. Even I have that, and I admit it, even though I don't want to.
Yeah, it takes a lot of work to ensure that your personal biases do not get in the middle of what you are writing about, especially when it's something that you are heated about.
Yes.
And that's why it's like using things like the subreddits for news like this is not a good way to go.
It's a good idea. It's a good way to find information. Well, it's a good way to confirm your bias, but it's a good way to find information to be like, oh, I'm gonna go investigate that. Yeah. It's a good, you get a grasp of what's happening right now, and then you go, okay, now I'm gonna try and figure out what's really happening right now on your own. Yeah. And so you shouldn't use Reddit as a news tool. You should use it as a introductory news tool, and then investigate yourself.
I personally think of all of the news aggregation applications, Apple News is the best. No comments, no social media of any kind, anything integrated. Right. It's just news. Yeah. And so, personally, what I'll do is when I had my iPhone, I'm currently using Android. Apple, please.
Because Android's better.
Please bring Apple News and Apple Health to Android, and then I'll be happy.
Yeah, realistically, there needs to be a little more crossplay there. I agree. With Apple's apps in general,
I mean, I'd be happy with just those two. I don't care about
Yeah, I know, but I mean, other people I'm sure would be like, oh, I don't care about those, but I care
but if they get rid of iMessage being exclusive, they lose us.
Okay, not iMessage, but also getting iMessage to function appropriately on Android would not be an easy task.
Why not? It would do the exact same. The only reason that you can't do the vice versa of something similar on iOS is because of how Apple locks down your messages. Messages are not locked down on Android, so they just have to request permissions, and they could do the exact same thing.
Okay, that's true, but
it would be like if Allo didn't give you the button.
I guess it wouldn't be. I was gonna say it would be a programming nightmare, but I guess that would depend on how many versions of Android they're planning to support. If they're supporting just the newest stuff, then it probably wouldn't be too bad. Yeah. If they're supporting like Marshmallow and up, then it wouldn't be too bad. Yeah. So, okay, I'll give you that. But, or Hangouts can just update with the few features that it's lacking and we'll be happy.
But Hangouts is for business.
Right, I know, because Allo is what... Okay, that's what confused me about the whole Hangouts Allo thing, is Google was like, oh, here's this new Allo messaging app that sucks, by the way. We've used it a lot. We know it sucks. For India, because that's something that they're requesting and that they need over there. And it's like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, And then they're like, by the way, Hangouts is a business app now.
Google expected enhanced messaging, like enhanced SMS.
Right, which still hasn't become
faster. And it has.
Well, but not...
it's carrier-to-carrier specific, phone-to-phone specific. Like
T-Mobile supports it, correct?
For certain phones, only to other certain phones. They do not support... They are working on supporting Google's. They do not currently, I believe. Okay. Right now, the most common support you'll get for it is using Samsung's messaging app to go from a Samsung phone on one carrier to a Samsung phone on that same carrier.
Yeah, which
there's
is
no
like
real
very
cross-platform. There's no cross-OS, no cross-even manufacturer.
And that needs to be fixed. Now, Pulse technically does support it, if I understand.
But if the carrier doesn't support it...
If the carrier doesn't, if the other phone doesn't, et cetera, then it's not good. Now, that's what I want. Because, I mean, realistically, that's... At that point, it is instant messaging.
Yeah, RCS is what we need.
It's instant messaging, correct? Yeah. Like, I don't know much about RCS, so...
It's essentially taking all of the internet-related features you find in modern messaging services
and just applying it
and making it work in base texting apps over essentially taking over texting.
Which is exactly what I've been wanting for such a long time, because I am just absolutely myself so sick of any kind of delay. I want to press that button, and in under 100 milliseconds, you have received my message. That is my goal there.
And it supports. It even supports things like read receipts if you would want it. It supports a lot of enhanced features.
That's very nice.
It's pretty much the go-to. It's going to support higher sized media files and things like that too. So you can send better pictures. And you can send videos.
Then you can send text messages that don't split into 40.
Yeah,
right? Which would be nice. So okay, I'm excited for that. Okay, I think we should move on to the next topic now, though, because we have 45 minutes and we have a lot to get through because we're on page 1 of 4. So anyway, Asus Rock is making GPUs.
I mean, page 4 literally just says banana.
I mean, yeah, but that's an important thing to talk about.
3 pages.
You just eliminated the 4th page by saying banana. That's really rude.
So GPUs.
Okay, so Asus Rock is making GPUs. No, they're not they aren't maybe making GPUs. They aren't rumored to be making GPUs. ASRock is making GPUs. This is 100% confirmed by ASRock. So it's going to be their Phantom gaming line, and it's going to be AMD oriented for the time being, or Radeon oriented, whatever you want to say. And again, Phantom gaming, and it's not crypto mining oriented like some people speculated. There was rumors going around that ASRock was going to be making GPUs, but they were going to be focused on cryptocurrency. No, not in this case. Plus, I still think cryptocurrency focused GPUs just aren't a good idea. That's why most companies aren't making them.
They also might still be doing that, and this was just ready first.
That could be. But the thing is, it's just gaming GPUs versus crypto GPUs. There's not that much that you can take cost-wise off of it to make it a crypto-only GPU. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, NVIDIA could potentially use parts that didn't bin as well, parts that had cores that they had to disable. Say, you know, something failed that wasn't, you know, it was a GP 104, GP 104 chip that wasn't good enough to be a 1070. So it was like, okay, well, it can't be a 1060 because that's GP 102. So it's like, okay, maybe this can mine, right? But other than that, there's not really a lot of room for that. So I understand why they went this route. Of course, this is not going to help with GPU shortages.
I wonder how much, if they were to do, like, essentially take cards that get, that have manufacturing issues. And, like, let's say they notice an average that they can use that is, like, in between a couple of the gaming cards.
Yes.
I wonder how much cost savings there would be in them just, like, making a card that's whatever the best average they can get is for, like, all of their lower binned ones,
right?
And just not putting any software optimization into it for the gaming side. Essentially, take out all of the software engineering aspect of how much cost they could save via that method for mining cards. Essentially, just give mining cards the bottom barrel shit, and then not software optimize for it.
I don't think there's a lot, to be honest.
Because with with game ready drivers working on all different, unless they have some kind of translation layer that just works for every single card, I feel like they'd have to be putting in work for game ready drivers, card specific.
Yeah, okay, that's probably true. I don't know that much about driver development, so I can't, confirm for sure.
Especially with game ready drivers, because that's kind of a weird situation.
Yeah, it is. Well, I mean, game ready is, just marketing, obviously, but yeah. So anyway, this is interesting. What impressed me, though, about this was it was ASRock, and they're not color-coded, at least apparently in the video, is it was generic colors like black, silver, and white, right?
That's red.
Is it red?
On the fan.
Oh no, ASRock, you make me sad. Your volume's on. Oh no, it's not.
No, it's not.
ASRock, don't do that to me. Oh man, I hate. All right, so I've gone on rants about this before, and I won't go on a huge rant about it this time by any means because I've gone on long rants about this. But I don't understand why anybody but Asus can't seem to figure out how to make a specific, singular, like monochrome style motherboard. MSI, Gigabyte have had a couple, and I don't just mean motherboard, but I also mean GPU products in general. Stop color coding your products. There's a reason.
They just choose not to.
Oh, I know. But it's like, stop color coding your products. There's a reason that people color code their setups and their systems. And it's just frustrating to me because it's like, I have an ASRock. Whoa, now. I have an ASRock X399 professional gaming motherboard. And, it's a really high-end board. I love it. It works great with my 1950X. But it has a dash of red on the chipset cooler. And I'm going to have to 3D print something to cover that up. And it's like, I don't want to do that. That's a pain in the butt. I'm probably going to have to super glue it, which is kind of sketchy. But I can't have red in my system. That's not the theme that I want. But I wasn't going to go with a different motherboard because of it,
Couple things.
Yeah.
For one, to be fair, most graphic cards are this way. You're not going to see the fan.
Okay, there's some truth to that, but we are seeing horizontal ones getting way more.
Their logo is dumb, and their logo has red, and that's what the red was, I think.
Yeah, I know. But even Asus finally stopped doing that with their various logos and the like. Yeah. Their stuff's all black now.
But to be fair, Asus got crapped on a lot harder for color schemes when their best motherboards were gold.
Okay, their ROG boards were never gold. They were always red and black.
But when their best value option motherboards were gold, and so the majority of motherboards they were selling for lower tier computers were, they got a lot of flack. So of course they're gonna change first.
They did. Also, Eyes Wallow. Hi. He said hi, so
hi.
I wanted to say hi back. Yeah, so I mean, and I do like the way Asus has approached that, where they have been very much so like they started reducing the amount of red in their ROG boards every year for like a 4-year period until they got to completely black.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so yeah, ASRock's making GPUs. Here's an interesting one. So this is a review leak of 2 different new CPUs from AMD. The Ryzen 7 2700X and the Ryzen 5 2600. Now, it's just a leak. It's from WCCF Tech. There's other places that have reported on it. Take it with a grain of salt because, again, it's a review leak. Things can change between now and then. If it is real, it's also a pre-production unit, so things in terms of clock speeds and other stuff like that can potentially change. So anyway, the 2700X is looking like it's roughly 12 to 18% faster versus the 1700X. That's a pretty huge jump in performance.
Yeah.
Now, of course, the majority of that coming from clock speed. This is a refinement of the 14 nanometer process node that is being used on the current Ryzen, like 1700X and the Ryzen series. So it's just a refinement, but the goal is clock speed bumps in that case, because that's the area that AMD is lacking in versus Intel right now, is primarily clock speeds. I still think they're a better value even in that case, but they're, you know, when you can get an Intel chip that clocks up to 4.7 gigahertz as its turbo speed, and AMD's is 4.1, you know, that is a pretty significant performance difference there. Now, as I've said before, I've talked about this in other videos, is when in terms of gaming, I really don't think it's as important as some people want it to be, because it's like, oh my gosh, it's getting 50 less FPS. It's like, yeah, the Ryzen chip's getting 250 and the Intel chip's getting 300. Yeah. I'm sorry if that's a problem to you, but your monitor doesn't refresh that high. Now, of course, there are latency improvements. Even if you go above your monitor's refresh rate, this is why I play Overwatch at like 170 frames per second on a 75 hertz monitor, and it does actually feel smoother than 75 frames per second, but you get to the point of diminishing return when you hit the 150-ish range.
Yeah.
And unless you're an actual professional gamer, which in that case, you're not going to go for Ryzen. You're not building your own setup in that sense. I think it's not a big deal. But point stands that still Ryzen has been lacking on the clock speed area. And, you know, we want to see them catch up because we want to see better performance for the money. We want to see more competition so that they keep fighting back and forth and the consumer gets the best product, right? So they have improved L3 and L2 cache latency, which is pretty important, with 32% greater cache bandwidth. So that is likely a helps with the performance buff there. So the 12 to 18% faster, like, of course, that's going to depend on application, and 18% faster makes sense if it's something that's really reliant on cache bandwidth, whatever kind of benchmark it is. So obviously, 12 to 18% faster doesn't, of course, necessarily mean that we're going to be seeing 4.8 gigahertz out of one of these, but the idea is that we're going to see reliable overclocks to 4.4 gigahertz on most of them, which means if you win the lottery, you might hit 4.5 or 4.6 gigahertz as an overclock. Yeah. Now, on a chip like an 8-core chip like the 2700X, that's pretty major. That's a pretty big deal. Now, they also have improved inter-core latency, which is just Infinity Fabric latency, which is important. Although, of course, the improved latency is going to be way more important on like a Threadripper chip or an EPYC chip. Although that does depend on application, because one could argue that the applications that you're going to be using those high core count chips for are going to be less latency dependent in terms of the Infinity Fabric versus like gaming and stuff like that. Still good to see, and we're looking at the 4.35 gigahertz turbo on the 2700X. Again, it's all leak. We don't know for sure. We'll know in a month. So, you know, within a month. Yeah. It's exciting. It's cool. Whatever. You know, I mean, I'm excited to see these chips come out. Obviously, I'm not getting one. I'm probably still going to put a 2200G in my HTPC.
You say, obviously, you're not getting one.
It is me, after all. But I'm trying to focus spending money on upgrades. Or, sorry, not upgrades. But on additives
in 6 months.
Well, yeah, but there's no way that I'm going to go to, like, a 2700X. I have a Threadripper.
For your desktop, sure.
For my main
you'll
rig.
Find a reason. You always do find a reason.
I always do. I mean, remember, your 1600X broke, and I was like, oh, you can use my 1600 that I have had mounted to a wall for 6 months.
You literally said you wanted to buy a CPU for the sticker.
Okay, I'll give you that. He's not kidding, guys. I actually did. Like, I was texting him one day, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to buy an R7 chip specifically for my HTPC, even though I don't need it, and a 2200G would make more sense because I want the Ryzen 7 badge, because I have the Ryzen 5 and the Ryzen 3 and the Ryzen Threadripper badge, because I have a plaque that I put all my case badges on.
Yeah.
You know what I just realized, too? That plaque up there, It has a Mad Catz one on it. It's really big.
What's Mad Catz?
I don't know. What is Mad Catz? I got that when I bought the Rat Pro X. Yeah, I wasn't quite happy with spending $250,000 on a mouse.
But you were so happy that it was green.
I mean, it was actually a really good mouse. It just didn't work out for my play style.
But
it was a
green.
great mouse. The person I gave it to or sold it to, as far as I know, still loves it. So.
But it was green.
It was green. Okay.
That mouse isn't green. You need
this mouse is not green. That is true. That is actually a fact. Okay. So, this is some news about NVIDIA. I don't know if you heard about Turing mass production.
I saw this, and you told me about it because you said you were going to buy a GPU.
Well, yeah, Turing... so NVIDIA Turing, which is estimated to be the new GPU architecture name for the gaming series. It's been kind of confirmed by reliable sources. And so it's going to be called Turing instead of Ampere, or Amper, however you want to say it.
It'd be Amper.
It'd be Amper, technically speaking, I know. But Turing mass production will enter mass production in Q3 this year, in theory, but if that's the case, you're probably not seeing Turing this year, which makes me wonder if Ampere is going to come out this year as a refined version of Pascal and Turing something completely different, or if we're just going to wait a long time because there's not a lot of competition in the market right now. So anyway, we'll still maybe see a reveal of something. I would imagine we're going to see a reveal of a new gaming series at GTC. It's just a matter of when can you buy that new gaming series. So within a month, you should know within a month or so. Well, GTC is happening really soon, so yeah. Can you find out the GTC date for me really quick? Because I actually don't know it off the top of my head. When's the new when is it? Professional podcast number 52.
March 26th through 29th.
Oh, okay, so it's really close. So we should know within a week by next podcast, realistically, whether or not there's new GPUs coming out and when they're coming out is my estimate. So hopefully we'll find out.
I don't expect an announcement at GTC, to be honest, because they're literally billing GTC as the premier AI and deep learning event.
Okay, that's true. That's a good point. We'll see. I hope they announce something. At this point, I'm probably just, once prices hopefully go back to MSRP, I'm just going to get a Vega 64 or two for my Threadripper build because it's already AMD themed, and I'm not going to buy something that's incredibly outdated, even if it is better.
If anything, I would have expected an announcement at GDC, which is happening now. So unless we get one in the next couple days.
It goes till the 23rd?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, maybe, but I don't know. NVIDIA has announced stuff at GTC before, though.
And they've announced stuff at Yeah, but they've shifted GTC more and more.
They have.
They're
every
shifting
year
a lot
it's
of their
moved.
events. Like CES is now cars and AI.
Yep, that's true.
This is deep learning and AI, so it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't doubt if we like GDC, they've already been showing some stuff.
Right.
So I wouldn't be all that surprised if we get a graphics card announcement. I also won't be surprised if we don't, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of just like whatever happens, I guess. I'm hoping we see something just because I want some news on what's happening in the world of gaming, because I'm sorry, but Pascal's getting really old, guys. We're looking at over 2 years now. That's a little ridiculous.
It doesn't look like they have any major events scheduled, so probably not. NVIDIA Vulkan update on the 23rd, though.
Ooh, that's interesting. Okay. But yeah, okay, maybe not a GPU announcement at GTC then.
Their talks, they don't even have their CEO talking at the event.
Okay, so unless there's something a surprise, it looks like we're not.
Yeah.
Which probably means that this leak or rumor is accurate about Q3 being mass production for Turing. Yeah. Because at that point, they a lot of times companies don't talk about the product until it's in mass production already. If it's not going into mass production until Q3, it's probably not ready. Yeah. And so they don't want to talk about it until it's ready. Which means 2018, might be a year of no GPU releases at all. I mean, in terms of gaming GPUs. It might be none. Maybe we'll see something from AMD. It wouldn't surprise me if we saw some lower-end Vega parts. Because Vega...
That's where Vega's better at.
Vega's better at lower end. As we know, Vega 64, it performs well, but its performance per watt is pretty terrible. So it'd be understanding, though, if they actually, there's a reason that Intel partnered with AMD to put Vega next to them, other than potential, bureaucracy. There's reasoning behind that. Is Vega's not bad at mobile. If Vega was horrible in terms of power consumption for mobile devices when there's less cores and in particular lower clock speeds, Intel wouldn't have chosen them. But Intel chose them because obviously knowing, as we've seen proven tests, at lower clock speeds, Vega's actually great. It's just on an architecture that's built for higher clock speeds. Basically, AMD's pushed it really, really, really hard to be able to compete with NVIDIA, which, to be honest, if you plan to keep a graphics card for a really long time, Vega probably won't last as long in terms of reliability.
Yeah.
It's running hotter, it's consuming more power, and it's clocked higher than it probably should be, if you know what I mean. We all overclock our cards. None of us care, right? But point being, if you're somebody that keeps a card for 5 years, you're probably better off buying something from NVIDIA. But,
generally, I feel like what's best for those types of people is buy a really solid card, like a 1070 or 1080 if you can afford that. And then
even a 1060 is pretty dang solid now at this point.
But getting a mid to high tier card, using it at the default clocks, and then once you start to notice games not running as well, a bit.
Couple years later,
that way you kind of extend the feel of the card's life.
Yep, and I think that's a smart decision. So, speaking of overclocking, I'm going to be overclocking the living crap out of a 660 Ti just for fun over on the test bed over there.
Do you want to overclock a 580 as well if it works?
Sure.
I have the GTX 580.
Really?
Yeah.
I might try and figure out how to do some voltage mods on that and see if I can get that. I'm starting to want to get in a little bit of hardware modification more, so you guys will see videos on that content for sure. Anyway, moving on, because we keep going off on tangents, because that's what this podcast is all about.
There's even topics that aren't in the doc yet, like the one about the hard drives.
Woo! That's a good point. Okay, so this one's going to be fast. The Logitech released some new speakers and a new keyboard. The G560 speakers and the G513 keyboard. They both have light sync technology, which basically syncs the lighting on your display. Stop it. Syncs the lighting on your display.
Very professional.
Yes. Syncs the lighting on your display with the lighting on your peripherals, which is really, really, really cool. We've seen stuff like this come out with like Light Pack, for example, that mounts on the back of your TV and other various things like that, or the back of your monitor, that shines the wall, in that case, with the colors of your monitor to extend your peripheral vision in terms of just making it easier on the eyes. Now, the G560 speakers have lights on the back of them that do light up your wall, so they're dual functionality, and from what I understand, they sound pretty good. I mean, in terms of just generic speakers that are good quality speakers for PC.
Logitech makes pretty okay PC speakers.
Like, I mean, if you're looking for audiophile stuff, you're not looking for RGB lights on it, right?
Yeah.
You're looking at something like audio.
As soon as he was like, he was like asking me about buying this, I'm just like, aren't you an audiophile?
And I was like, yeah, you make a good point. I'll be disappointed because I already have the Clips Pro Media 2.1. They're solid. They're not audiophile grade. They're not reference monitors, which I'm planning to upgrade to something from Audio Engine in the future.
Yeah.
But it's like, that'd be a downgrade to what I already have in terms of sound quality.
Yeah. For me, if these can update the lights fast enough, I would be very happy.
The demo videos look good.
Yeah, I would consider buying this if it does this outer screen capture.
It does, as far as I understand. I believe so.
Then
yeah, we'll have to wait for reviews to come out. You should do a video on that, by the way.
The only other concern, though, that I have, part of why I wanted to go with Light Pack specifically, even though it's going to cost $200 as well, and it's not speakers, is because with the 4K Light Pack, it accepts 4K input and then output. Essentially, it's pass-through.
Yeah.
And so it can do consoles as well.
Which is cool, because you game on consoles on your setup quite a bit.
Yes.
Whereas if I ever own a console, I don't right now, but when I did, I set it up separate on a TV.
Because ideally, with the Light Pack, I would probably be getting the 4K Light Pack for my TV, at which point I would like everything going through my TV to work with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Chromecast, or consoles, whatever. I don't use the Smart TV UI, so Chromecast is probably the most important.
Makes sense. So these are $199.99, and they also have 3D audio with DTS:X Ultra 1.0. It's gonna suck. Don't use it. It's gonna suck.
Do you have to wear glasses on your ears to get that audio?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Can you make a parody video about 3D audio and do that?
We should. We should do that together. Let's do that. Let's plan that. Let's plan to do that. We'll plan to do that. And it'll release at really similar times as the audio streaming service quality tests and the blind test for the audio streaming service quality. And then we can even we can just do it the next day. But what about 3D audio? And then tape 3D glasses to my ears. I love that idea. Oh man. No, I mean the thing is you can't get realistic proper 3D audio out of a left-right channel speakers unless they're very special. And if they're very special, you're looking at spending like $50,000 for your front speakers.
Yeah. I mean,
not gonna...
Even, like, there's no way $200 ones are gonna do this, but, like, I've heard some pretty quality, not so much, like, height-wise, but, like, set left and right.
Yes.
Surround sound from really high-end sound... Well, I shouldn't say really high, like $800-900 sound bars.
Yeah.
They can do some pretty crazy
They can
things.
do some crazy stuff, but it's just like, you can still tell it's simulated.
Yeah. Now, that being said, I'm wondering if with a lot of the audio processing that we're seeing from things like the Google Home Max, from things like the Apple AirPod, if we're going to see that improve even more. Because a big thing with those devices is, especially with the AirPod, is using sound to essentially almost map the room to figure out how it needs to tweak the sound to make it ideal. So if they can use the idea of sound mapping the room to then figure out how to map the audio to get it surround working better.
They could do some stuff that would make it better. It's obviously still not going to be as good as proper surround sound or as proper surround sound in a binaural setting. Now, of course, the reasoning behind that, though, the reasoning behind any of that, and, like, you know, the sound bars that do 3D audio, it's like, well, of course, it's like, when you listen to it, you can really tell the difference between the left and right channels. Because, of course, it's like a 6-foot sound bar. The speakers are in separate spots.
I've seen, like, 4-foot ones that are... from a decent
I haven't
distance,
tested those myself.
Very
then.
impressive.
Okay,
They had some at Best Buy. They don't have it currently, but there was I think it was a Sony one that I like literally listened to. Like, and I mean, I've heard they had other stereo soundbars. I listened to them, even similarly priced ones.
Yeah.
But then I heard Sony's surround one, and I was like, this is probably going to be really dumb and not work. And then I walked out like, I need money.
No, and I have tested some of the
impressed.
higher end ones from Bose that are usually larger, but part of the reason that it's so hard to do that properly and accurately to the point of realism is because how do you change the... Because you can change the volume of the two the two sides separately, but you can't change the timing, which is one of the other differences, the inaural time difference. You can't really change the timing of, you know, oh, the sound's coming from the right, so we're going to make it arrive at the left ear slower, because this speaker can still be heard by this ear.
Yeah.
So you can't really just, oh, we'll just make it echo a little. That's not gonna work, right? And so that's why it becomes such a challenge. There's some really special stuff you can do. There's one, I can't remember the name of them, but there's one set of, you know, handmade speakers. Like I said, they're like $50,000 that are binaural front speakers. So the G513 is a keyboard using the Romer G switch. You can get the tactile or the linear version. I haven't used linear Romer Gs. I'd like to test those out. I've used the tactile ones. It's got USB pass-through, which is expected and also very nice to have. Has a really nice looking palm rest. We'll have to see in real life, of course, but it looks great. You have audio on. And $149.99 for the keyboard. Pretty expensive keyboard for the fact that it's just got light sync.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you can spend less than that and get the wireless Mac.
Isn't it just seems like LightSync is just...
Software?
Yeah.
So, why is it so expensive? I don't know.
Because Logitech.
Now, maybe Logitech is fixing their keycaps on this board. Maybe these are going to be thick ABS or PBT, double-shot PBT.
Yeah,
I doubt it. So anyway, that's one of the reasons I don't buy Logitech keyboards, even though I absolutely love most things from Logitech. I have 2 of their mice, and I have bought a total of 3 of these. You know, but it's like, I'm sorry, your keycaps suck. Fix it. Use PBT. Use thick ABS. Whatever you got to do, Logitech, just please fix that.
No, just buy a Logitech keyboard and 3D print your own.
I mean, I could actually 3D print my own. Oh, yeah. Joe's here. Hey, glad to finally catch you guys live. Yeah, it has been a while. And he says his favorite soundbar is the Bose SoundTouch 300, but it's like $1,000.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've tested that one specifically. I don't know how new it is. It has been a little while since I've tested the 3D soundbars. But yeah. I mean, yeah, very cool, very cool. Bose. Yeah. I will admit, if you're looking for soundbars or if you're looking for really small surround sound audio, even coming from an audiophile, Bose does an excellent job. So does Sony, especially in the soundbar department. Obviously, if you're looking for audiophile grade surround sound, you need to look at like SV Sound or Klipsch or something like that. Yeah. But Bose
soundbars aren't for audio. Soundbars are for the people that want easy setup.
Yes, and well, it's the same understanding with like
setup.
I've always been impressed with Bose surround sound when you have 4 speakers this big and a sub this tall, and you're sitting in a room and it sounds good. Like, that's something that they've done a lot of engineering to do. But yeah, it's great that you're here, Joe. Thank you for catching the show. This is our 52nd episode. So, you know, it's been a year of WordCast. I mean, we've been doing it more than a year, but a year worth, if you know what I mean. And we have a little bit of an interesting announcement towards the end of the show. Not a huge thing, and something that was put in the doc before we even thought about the fact that this is the 52nd, so it's not something huge, but you just stick around till the end if you can. So 4K 144 hertz monitors finally might be coming out this year. That'd be pretty cool. They've been getting delayed over and over and over again. They were originally announced at Computex, like 2017 or 2016, I think, is when they originally talked about it.
I think they announced that with the plan for launching in early 2017, and we might get one at the end of this year, so probably next year.
Yeah, probably next year. Now, I personally am not one that's looking for this, because ultra-wides are the way to go, in my opinion, in most desk arrangements, and he agrees, and everybody else that I've convinced to buy an ultra-wide goes, yeah, I'm never going back.
Yeah.
And I am going to be upgrading to a ultra-wide that is a 3840 by 1600, 38-inch ultra-wide. Like, you know, so ultra-wides I think are the way to go, but it's still, for a gamer that's just gaming and they're playing a lot of competitive games where the frame rate matters, where the refresh rate and the response time of the monitor matters, but they also want high fidelity. They're not just playing CSGO and Overwatch, they're playing other stuff too. This actually makes sense. I do see a market segment for this. And
this is the perfect monitor for people that only play Overwatch.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because you're going to get more detail. It actually does provide a little bit of a benefit.
And you can't take advantage of ultra-wide in Overwatch.
Exactly. Not properly at all. Yeah. So, but I mean, not just Overwatch, but I mean, also if you're a gamer that, say, you game competitively, even in games like CSGO, where there's not going to be a huge benefit from this, you're going to get, you know, you have higher pixel density, so you have a better chance of seeing smaller things from a distance and stuff. But, obviously...
That being said, most CSGO players that are really into the competitive stuff turn everything down, and so they can get as much frames as possible anyway, so they'd probably drop the resolution to 1080.
They probably would, yeah. So, but the point I was getting at, though, was the 4K not being for them, but the fact is, if that's one of the things you do, but you also like to go play some Witcher, and you like to go play some Fortnite, and you like to go play some Crysis, this is a good monitor for you. Or these monitors, these panels. So Acer and Asus are both going to be releasing them. It's likely the same panel company. We can basically confirm that, whoever's making them. Estimated Q3 launch this year. So let's hope they actually come out. I definitely won't be buying one. If somebody wants to give me one, I'll review it. But I'm not going to be buying one for myself. But yeah, anyway. Now, here's the one that's interesting to me, though. So we're supposedly at Q3 this year, or in Q4 this year, we're going to be getting 3440 by 1440 200 hertz ultra wides, which is not something we've seen. We've seen 2560 by 1080 200 hertz ultra wides, but not 3440 by 1440, which is, I think, a big benefit for a lot of people. And not that 200 hertz is that big of an upgrade over 144, just like most people say, if you're deciding between 120 or 144 hertz, go with whichever is cheaper, right? And I mean, even the difference between 60 and 75 is more drastic than 75 to 100 in my personal testing, and I'm pretty sensitive to it. I'd say 75 to 120, you do notice a pretty big gap there, but you get diminishing return the higher you go. But I think the idea of having higher refresh rate panels up to about 200 hertz is giving you a wider range for adaptive sync technologies like G-Sync and FreeSync.
And for people that do a lot of different things, so if you play CSGO competitively, but you also do work on your computer where you would utilize multiple windows, and you also edit videos or photos, so you want accurate colors, like the more versatile monitor, obviously those are going to cost a lot, but
if you can pay $1,500 and do everything on one monitor instead of spending $2,000 to have 3 monitors to do the same job, and but you know, I think though having that extra range is nice. Having a monitor that can go from like 40 to 200, that gives you a big range where you're never going to have screen tearing or stuttering. Watch this come out and somehow
have a FreeSync range of like 40 to 110.
Right, exactly. Or well, it goes up to 200, so it'll be like a FreeSync range of like 160 to 200.
That would actually be kind of awesome, just because of how bad it would be.
Agreed, because I mean it's already pretty bad on like the LG Ultra Wide that I have. I mean,
asterisk.
Yeah, right. Like I use FreeSync on my LG Ultra Wide because I run an RX 580 now, but it's like, okay, it goes from like, I think, what is it, 45 to 75 hertz? Like, okay.
Yeah.
Great. Whatever. We gotta hurry up. Wow, it's getting late.
Yeah, you do.
Okay, so the AX1600i, not the AX1500i, there's an official reviews out. The reviews have been released. All in all, it's the best unit out there in terms of performance when it comes to voltage control, ripple control, as well as heat dissipation and other stuff like that, and efficiency. Corsair, why did you make the mistake that I've been so proud of you for not making on any of your power supplies, unlike EVGA, your biggest power supply competitor? Literally the biggest reason that I recommend Corsair power supplies is your cables don't have in-cable capacitors. You don't need to improve your efficiency this much and make your cables have in-cable capacitors, because they look ugly. You have to use heat shrink to cover them up, and sleeving, yeah, good luck. You're going to have to just get rid of them, which is okay. You can get rid of them, but that means you can't sleeve your existing cables. You've got to replace, your existing cables with new cables, which is lame. So, yeah, they made that big mistake, but whatever. It's got magnetic labels on the side that are different colors, so obviously if one label is not to your preference, you can take it off, which is very nice. Efficiency-wise, it's about 0.3% better than the AX1500i. Woo!
Nice.
Cold testing, 5 volts, had no voltage fluctuation at all. Literally not measurable by the oscilloscope from Johnny Guru. This is where the review is coming from. The cold testing average was 0.1% in terms of voltage fluctuation, and the hot testing average was 0.25% in terms of voltage fluctuation. The build quality is 10 out of 10. I think it was a 9.7, I think is what it got on the Johnny Guru end result. Let me find out for sure just to tell you guys. Scoring, I think it's the highest rated one ever, 9.7, yeah. So it's just a total monster. One of the reasons he knocked it down, though, half a point in one of the categories, was because of the in-cable capacitors. I just hate that. A little bulk at the end of your cable. It's disgusting. It is. I mean, I have a custom cabling project going on that table right over there for those that don't follow the channel. So, yeah, it makes me mad when I see stuff like that, because power supplies, yeah, if you've got capacitors, it becomes a pain in the butt.
Just don't buy a 1600 watt.
I mean, I have a 1500 watt, but I have good reason to have a 1500 watt in my system.
That's not a 1600 watt.
Shh. Mine doesn't have in-cable capacitors either.
Yeah,
okay.
It's a 1500 watt.
Right, exactly. It's only the 1600 watts that have
Yeah.
in-cable capacitors, except for the 1300 watt that I had that had in-cable capacitors. So, anyway, Samsung PM833 enterprise-based SSD.
That sounds sexy.
Yeah, the PM833. This is pretty exciting. So it is, you can get it in capacities of 3,840 gigabytes or 7,680 gigabytes. So it is a 4 terabyte and an 8 terabyte effectively SSD. For the enterprise, it's 2.5 inch still. It runs over SATA 3.3, so it can go into power off state, which is pretty awesome. Super low power consumption overall, which is the goal. The performance was not the goal with this SSD. It was power consumption. So 2.8 watts during consistent reads and 3.7 watts during consistent writes. Very low power consumption, which is exactly what the enterprise and data centers looking for. Now, the endurance ratings are also pretty impressive. 5,466 terabytes and 3,840. Wait, yeah, sorry. Sorry. 5,000. I can't talk. 5,466 terabytes of endurance on the 3,840 gigabyte model, and 10,932 terabytes of endurance on the 7,680 gigabyte model. So, anyway, point being, that's the write endurance, obviously. Read endurance isn't really a thing on SSDs. So anyway, pretty exciting.
Keep in mind that a lot of companies, especially Samsung, undercut their endurance number so that they can ensure that it hits that.
Exactly.
Like, a lot of testing shows that Samsung's actual performance or endurance on drives, on SSDs, way higher than theirs.
Oh, absolutely.
I wouldn't be surprised if the 3,840 gigs can end up doing
like
10,000 terabytes.
Whoa.
The ones that are rated for 5.
I thought you said the bigger one, the 8 terabyte. Yeah, no, exactly. That's the thing, is like there have been Samsung SSDs in the past, a long time ago, back in like the I think it was the 850 Evo or something like that, where there was a bunch of testing done by Alan Malventano over on PC Per. He basically hammered a drive for like multiple months. He hammered a whole set of SATA drives to see which ones died first, and he was able to write like 2.5 petabytes, so 2,500 terabytes to the Samsung drive before it failed. And as far as I understand, its endurance rating was something like half a petabyte at that point.
Yeah.
Or something like that. So it was like, yeah. Okay, so there's yet another study that was released that said video games don't cause violence.
Wow, who knew?
Yeah, who knew? The testing was, they did testing right before the 3-month period and right after the 3-month period of gameplay test that they had them play games. They had people consistently play, let's see, they were either playing Grand Theft Auto 5, The Sims, or no games at all. And the testing range was 90 people from 18 to 45 years old. So, I mean, a pretty small sample size, but basically less than what would be scientifically insignificant. So less than insignificant showed changes. Only 3 did, and I believe it was like 9 would be considered scientifically like the minimum to be, yeah, this isn't a thing. So basically, yeah, video games don't cause violence, guys. So stop blaming it on that. Okay. AMD CPU price cuts.
They dropped $20 to $30.
20 to $30 on every single X SKU and the Ryzen 3 1200 and Ryzen 7 1700. So most of their chips have dropped about 20 to $30. AMD isn't officially saying, oh, we did a price drop, but every retailer has dropped by about that much. It varies by retailer, but that's about what it is. There's some that have gone a little over and some that have gone a little under in terms of that price drop there. But
make that money.
Hey, if you're looking for a system, you need one now. You don't want to wait till Ryzen 2. Not a bad time to build one. Get an 8-core system for really cheap.
Or, as soon as Ryzen 2 releases and all the stuff drops even more,
then you can do that.
Boom.
Yeah, so I mean, especially if you're not gaming primarily, or if you're only gaming a little but you don't really care about super high frame rates, just wait for Ryzen 2 to come out. Then buy the original Ryzen stuff that's going to be a lot cheaper.
And the X370.
And the X370. And you're going to be sitting pretty on a super cheap system that has workstation functionality that would clobber anything in workstation territory from a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Or further back. You know, it's just like, wow. So anyway, that's pretty cool. The 8-core... this is something I just wanted to say. I wanted to mention here is Intel versus AMD in terms of pricing. It's amazing that an 8-core Intel used to cost $1,000. We're talking the 5960X, right? So that was 2.5 years ago, I think it was, maybe approaching 3 now. The 5960X was $1,000. Now you can get 16 cores from AMD at still pretty dang high clock speeds, right? And very similar instructions per clock for $860.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay. TCL's TV.
Yeah, so TCL is an interesting television manufacturer. They've actually been releasing some pretty decent quality, low-cost televisions for a while now. But they've kind of grown in popularity with HDR because they were one of the low-cost TV manufacturers to adopt it very quickly. They have a couple of tiers of TVs, like if you've looked online, you might have seen a TCL HDR TV for like $300. The problem with that one is that it's technically HDR, but in a lot of ways it's not.
It's not HDR 10 spec at that point.
Yeah, well, and even then, it's like, it was really weird looking at it. It was HDR, but it didn't have the wide color gamut.
That's, yeah.
So it's literally HDR by classification only.
Yeah, not by actual performance. Which I do hate how HDR is being thrown around as a term like that. That is something that bugs me because it's like actual proper HDR 10 certified displays or Dolby Vision HDR certified displays are so beautiful.
Yeah,
it's next generation. It's
I'd rather have that. Part of the
4K.
problem is just using HDR in general because HDR for like photography and HDR for TVs mean completely different things.
And then plus there's HDR in terms of color gamut and in terms of brightness. You know, and it's like the monitor that I'm going to be getting. It only goes up to 300 candles per meter squared, but it is HDR, as in it can take an HDR signal and use the wider color gamut to still enhance the display to make it look better and be a big difference. Anyway, continue though.
So essentially, this is a refresh of their medium tier, like their one of their higher tiers of TVs. Their P series from last year, which was $650 for the 55-inch. Now they're calling it the 6 series. It's still 4K HDR. It's still $650 for the 55-inch. However, it now has a higher brightness. We don't know the number though right now. This is just very.
Do you know what the previous number was? Was it like 300 candles?
I would have to check. I don't know off the top of my head.
I would guess it was like 300 or 400.
But they upped the local dimming zones. It used to be 72. It's now 96 on the 55-inch and 120 on the 65-inch.
That is pretty significant.
Yeah, that's a very nice bump up. It's going to allow better blacks, at least in more areas. just overall better contrast.
And I can't emphasize enough how important things like local dimming are. I have a friend who has a 4K HDR display that is edge lit, which by the way, any display that is edge lit cannot be considered HDR in my opinion. Anyway, I digress. So anyway, it's absolutely disgusting when you literally are on like a black screen with like a loading symbol, right? And it's like a white loading symbol.
Yeah.
And say that it's a loading symbol, though, that spins. It's right in the center of the display, which is where a split between two of the edge-lit zones are.
Yeah.
Okay? And then it has, like, a dot that goes from one side to the other. You literally see these, like, 6-inch or 5-inch sections of the TV lighting up back and forth. Yeah. It's just, like, it looks like the TV is having a backlight bleed stroke. It's just back and forth. And it's just, like, I'm like, and I'll admit, like, this TV... It does look better than non-HDR backlit 4K displays, but it's still it's still nothing like backlit proper HDR. Now it was a pretty cheap TV. It was from LG, I believe, and it's a pretty cheap TV considering what it's capable of doing. But it's just like edge lighting HDR, no.
Yeah. So this TV does support Dolby Vision and HDR10.
So that means it does over 1,000 candles per meter square, if it supports HDR10. HDR10's peak, I believe HDR10.
It probably peaks at over that.
Yes.
Also, they did update the physical design, so it's got like a new brushed aluminum finish compared to the P series.
That's nice. That's nice.
And yeah, it looks like it's a high quality TV. It's got Roku built in. All in all, last year's model was considered by a lot of places one of the best under $1,000 televisions you can buy, and the fact that this one just is better is awesome. They announced a release time frame, essentially saying it'll be available around May 1st, but they haven't confirmed a lot else.
Okay.
So we're just gonna have to wait and see. Pretty much once this is out, if Artings rates this pretty well, and if it has pretty low latency when you're doing 4K HDR gaming, this will probably be my next TV, because I was looking at getting essentially I'm looking at getting a fairly good TV to hold me off until either OLED or micro LED TVs are more cost effective and viable.
Right.
OLED, for example, has burn-in problems. Artings has been doing some pretty interesting testing on that. Which you should check out, by the way, the burn-in testing for the OLED TVs. They bought 6 of the same model LG OLED TVs and are running different tests.
Oh, okay.
So,
I want to check that out.
yeah.
Okay. So HDR10 has to be mastered at 1,000 nits, whereas Dolby Vision can be mastered at up to 10,000 nits.
It's just mastered, though.
Well, that means it has to support the mastered content, though, because HDR, when you master HDR content, it has to be. I'm trying to think of how to explain this. Basically, it can't be HDR10 certified if it can't hit 1,000 nits for a certain time period in a certain area, because it has to be able to get that bright. Otherwise, then things start to look really wonky, because if you're playing with brightness levels, but say like a TV can only hit 600 nits, so then when you tell it to hit 600, it hits 600. In another area, you tell it to hit 1,000 and it hits 600, they're going to look at the same brightness level and they're going to look really weird.
Yeah.
So you have to either sample it all down to where 600 now means 400 or 350 or whatever. So that means, though, the TV should have a peak brightness of 1,000 nits. Not entire display necessarily, though.
Yeah.
So...
but yeah, it looks like a really cool TV. I'm interested to see how the reviews are, especially for latency. That's always one of my biggest things when I'm looking at TVs.
Yeah.
And then another topic. So Samsung seems to have some new problems with their newly released phone.
Yeah,
Who could have guessed?
They do indeed.
Now, thankfully, the S9 and S9 Plus aren't blowing up. However, some of the screens, parts of them just aren't working at all.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. The
digitizers just aren't recognizing touch input, and nobody can figure out any consistency to it, because it's not... so it's mostly S9 Pluses that have been reported. Not so much the S9s, although there have been some. Also, some people have said they were able to get their phones working by doing a factory reset, whereas others have done multiple factory resets and it not improved.
Right.
It's also happening in different locations. So for some people, it's the top of the screen. Some people, it's the bottom. It's also varying amounts of the screen. It's not like it's always a third of it. It can, in some cases, be like a quarter of this, or like a third or a quarter of the screen. Sometimes it's only a small amount.
It's disgusting.
If it's at the top, it means you can't pull down your notifications. If it's at the bottom, you can't hit the all apps button. So there's a lot of problems with this. Meanwhile,
how common has it been so far, though?
I mean, that's hard to tell because looking at reports on Reddit is not...
It's a biased way to do that.
With the exception of the Pixel lineup, it's not a good way to look at how common something is.
Hello, DeSauce father.
Hi. So it's really hard to tell. We'll just have to keep letting reports come in. There are people also, though, reporting, and this is going to be very concerning if this is a major issue. Samsung...
All good.
Customers reporting issues with Samsung not wanting to replace out-of-the-box defective phones. Like, just pushing back really hard on it and giving people a lot of steps to go through out of the norm.
So another problem with another Samsung flagship. At least this one isn't exploding. Is that meme getting old now? No, I don't think so. It's not old. That meme won't be old for, like, a couple decades every time Samsung releases a phone. Well, at least it's not exploding.
Yeah.
Yet. Yeah. I almost bought one. I almost went into the store on launch day, and then I was like...
You would have had an issue with it.
I was like, no.
You definitely would have. Now, that's the thing. It depends on...
Knowing me, yeah.
If you are getting a Samsung phone, and you're not buying it for T-Mobile, buy it at Best Buy. You'll be able to return it.
Best Buy's return policy is... Woo.
Yeah, they just don't generally sell T-Mobile stuff in their stores.
Yeah, exactly.
So
T-Mobile's pretty good about stuff like that, customer service wise, though. Yeah,
I had the MyTouch 4G, and that was a crappy phone, but I had this problem where somehow dust particles kept getting under the display.
I remember this
after I bought it, and the screen wasn't loose, so I don't know how that happened, but it happened on 3 of them.
Do you think that phone was waterproof?
IP -5, -10.
No, it's IP 0.8. So it's waterproof, but dust can get in it, no problem. It's only dust proof. Well, you see, when you put it in water...
Only waterproof, not only dust proof.
No.
Only dust proof devices exist.
Okay, yeah, but what I mean is it's only waterproof, right? Yeah. So the way it works is when you put it in water, the extra pressure of the water pushing down on it seals the phone up. But when you take it back up in the air, it opens up.
It's like when you use a Ziploc bag to do sous vide.
Right, exactly. Okay. I mean, you see what... But here's the issue that would run in with this really revolutionary design would be when you take it out of the water and that pressure's released, it open up. So if you tilt it in the wrong direction, then the water just gets inside and ruins it.
No, it seals itself up.
It's IP 0.8 only while underwater rated.
It's a 0.8 asterisk.
Yeah, 0.8 with an asterisk at the top. Woo!
Samsung, put all your shit in a box and get it together.
Why? We don't want Samsung to... They're a big company, Dale. Do you have any idea how big that box would be?
Yeah. They need to get their shit together.
I know. This is unfortunate, though. If this ends up being a common problem, it's like another issue with another Samsung phone. You guys need to stop.
Yeah.
Because we're going to stop buying them.
Especially if this is a big problem. The only way I'm buying a Samsung phone is when they release their, like, fold-up phone, because I have to try it.
So let me ask you this. Are we approaching this overlap where you will have better luck getting a functional phone in terms of software and physical if you buy the essential phone than if you buy a phone from Samsung?
I'm waiting for when the LG and Samsung and LG flip.
Right, there we go.
That's when something is wrong.
Yes.
I'm sure you'll still get boot looped on the LG phones.
No, Samsung starts boot looping, but LG phones start exploding.
I want Samsung phones to boot loop, and every time you boot loop, a different part of the screen doesn't recognize.
Oh no! You know what Samsung should do as a troll though? Just a few of their devices, just sprinkle it on like 0.01% of their new S9s. Have them when they do a boot loop, so it goes into a boot loop. It shows the LG logo during the boot loop, and it lasts for like 20 minutes, and then it boots back up, no problem.
I think they'd get sued.
I think they'd get... No, it wouldn't be the LG logo. It'd be like GL with like a different color, but it's like obvious.
Oh my god.
Oh man.
Last topic, and then you can talk about your thing. Cambridge Analytica.
Yeah, this is a thing. So we hate Facebook. We hate Cambridge Analytica.
So there's a few different aspects to the Cambridge Analytica story.
So in case you didn't know, don't use Facebook.
Let me talk, because I want to differentiate something, because there's the political side and then there's the tech side.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about the political side with the news coming out from Channel 4. That is important. I think people should look at that, be aware of what was going on with that, because it's very interesting and it affects elections worldwide.
Exactly, but we're not a political show.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yet.
Yeah, we might be releasing a political podcast at some point, which we'll probably announce on here, but it's not going to be on this channel. Don't worry.
No.
We've had that in the works for about a year. We don't know exactly when it's going to happen. But...
We know when. Well, we know the events that will cause us to start it. We don't know when those events will happen.
Right. Exactly.
It's complex, and we'll talk about it another time.
Yeah.
But long story short, so with the Cambridge Analytica situation, as far as it goes to technology. Cambridge Analytica is a political consulting firm, and they were essentially doing a data gathering operation by using surveys on Facebook and Amazon's paid surveys platform, where you can get paid to do surveys.
Yeah.
Ultimately, all of it linked through Facebook accounts, though. And what they would do is you'd have to give an application permission to do a survey. Now, you wouldn't be doing it for Cambridge Analytica. They did it through like an educational group or something like that. But they would essentially, if you gave them permission, not just gather all the data on your profile, but also as much data as they could gather on all of your friends.
Right.
This happened back in 2014, 2015. At the time in 2015, the average amount of friends per user was in the 300s. So if you did it, 300 people plus would potentially be, obviously, your mileage may vary.
Yeah, of course.
More or less
very
friends,
much so, but yeah.
But the average 300 or so users would get their data gathered. This resulted in reports a while back of them having 30 million or so user data. So Facebook said, hey, stop and delete the data. Cambridge Analytica said, okay, we did. And Facebook said, thank you, and pretty much let them go on their way.
Yeah.
Now we got reports. All of a sudden, Facebook banned Cambridge Analytica. So we started seeing articles that, like, political consulting firm or this consulting firm hired by this politician was banned from Facebook. And then we found out why. It's because they didn't delete the data. They gathered more data. All in all, they had data on 50 million users, of which over 30 million users, they had enough data to gather full, like, psychoanalytical profiles.
So let me ask you this: and how many people took the survey? Let's
270,000.
So you're telling me that we had an increase of about 200 times the amount of people that consented to it?
No, we don't know how many consented in the past.
Well, sorry. No, what I mean is in terms
we went from the rumored number. Now they also might not have gathered more information actually, because the rumored number was 30 million before.
Oh, okay, right.
30 million might have just been the number, because that's the amount that they gather like psychoanalytical data on.
Right.
So that very well could have just been the number of what they considered viable data, but they actually ended up having some data on upwards of 50 million people. So.
Kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Facebook essentially just, if you accepted an application or if a friend accepted it, everyone that you know or they know would be able to, that app would be able to gather that data, which means Cambridge Analytica is not going to be the only one. It's against Facebook's terms and service, and Cambridge Analytica got banned a couple years after the fact, so it doesn't really matter. And they still have the data. It seems like they got raided by the UK police, so who knows what's going on with that.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's been a big deal.
So Facebook sucks.
Facebook is in a lot of legal heat. In the US,
and not to mention a lot of investor heat.
Yeah. In the UK, they're being summoned to Parliament, and they're specifically summoning Mark Zuckerberg. Anytime that Facebook is summoned to court, they have a tendency to send
random
like
nobodies, kind
of. They're lawyers,
nobodies.
But Mark Zuckerberg doesn't go. They're like specifically not just requesting, but almost demanding that he go.
Yeah.
He apologized, so there's that.
Yay! Just like I'm sure I mean, he probably apologized when he stole Facebook out from under all of his partners, but, you know, whatever.
Yeah, so this is,
I hate that I use Facebook, but I use it to promote the business, you know, so it's like...
Yeah, I'm deleting my Facebook. I made a post yesterday that in a week I'll be deleting my Facebook and just let people know so they can DM me if they need.
Are you deleting or deactivating?
Deleting.
You're gonna
I'm getting rid of it. No, I'm done.
I think that's a very good move, and I would probably do the same if I wasn't promoting the business there.
Yeah, even when I get back to regular posting on my channel, I just don't think that using Facebook is worth it.
Maybe so. I mean, I post all the videos here on Facebook as well, just to reach a little bit of a wider audience. We do get some content over there. I'm going to be working on a separate outro for them because please watch us on YouTube and Twitch where we well, not Twitch yet, but soon, where we actually make money because Facebook just makes money off our content over there.
Yeah. And they lie about their viewership numbers.
Yes. I've actually kind of considered maybe just not putting things on Facebook anymore. I'm not really sure yet. Yeah. So obviously I'll put out a channel update if that changes, but it'll probably be a channel update just for Facebook viewers.
Yeah, one of the big things for me, because
Joe says, "Oh, Mark."
Like, I know that no matter, you know, using Google, Snapchat, Twitter, all of that, there's data gathering, there's data selling. However, there's a difference between when a company chooses who they sell to, and if they choose to sell to a bad person, then I'll be mad about that. But there's a difference between them choosing who the data goes to and them not having control over their own platform.
Yeah, exactly.
And sure, Facebook is going to fix this now, but this has been, you know, going under the radar for a few years, which means who knows what else, who knows what other methods people have access to that Facebook knows about and they just don't care because it's not public. Yeah,
exactly. And until it becomes public, Facebook's not going to do anything about it. It costs them money to do something about it.
It takes
their
time
profit.
and effort, so why would they do it?
Well, it's the same reason that I literally I deactivated my Facebook for 5 years, which, by the way, anybody that uses Facebook consistently, it's a good idea. Just deactivate your Facebook and take like a year or two off. When you get back into it, you won't be addicted to it anymore. I mean, I wouldn't say I was beforehand, but I mean, like, you'll be like, I don't want to use Facebook rather than I want to use Facebook.
I was already at the point of pretty much just using Facebook for events. Like, I literally would hop on every once in a while to see if somebody invited me for something, and when they did, I'd accept that. When they didn't, whatever. Like, that's all I used it for.
Wait, so you got notifications specifically when they didn't invite you? Every event created by any friend, if you're not invited, you're not invited to this event.
Oh my god, that would be awesome on, like, April Fool's Day if Facebook started doing that.
Oh, that'd be so funny. That would be killer, dude.
Facebook,
oh, man.
I still won't reactivate my account if you do that.
But you should do that. Yeah, that would be hilarious. Oh, man.
I would chuckle.
I'd lol, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, you'd make events to troll people.
I probably would. I would make like a.
I can think of some events.
Oh man, it'll be another LAN party, which on April Fools will be perfect because that's like 5 days before my actual LAN party. Yeah. Oh man. Okay,
go ahead.
Yeah, so first, before I get into this one thing about the channel, I want to say I apologize that we've been streaming at 4 megabits per second this entire time instead of our usual 6. Quality's probably a little lower. Audio quality is going to be the same.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, that was I did some streaming for something else.
And then you streamed to that
And then I streamed to that. Now it's been deleted off that channel. We're good to go. But I did stream somewhere else by mistake at first. And I was also using my phone at the time. So I was streaming at a slightly lower quality setting. So that's why we're streaming at a little lower quality. We apologize for that, just to let you guys know. So as you can tell, everything was prepared for our special big number 52 episode in terms of me not sending out reminders to people on time. We were 15 minutes late. I streamed to the wrong channel, and I streamed in the wrong bitrate.
And you still don't have screen capping set up.
And I still don't have screen. But hey, that's just how we do things around here. I guess.
That's about right.
I mean, come on. Our actual videos are a lot more professional, and our articles are a lot more professional. They are. Let's be honest. They actually are versus our podcast. Like, you know, I put a lot of effort into those. This is our fun time a little bit. But anyway, so...
This is the only time I get for fun.
Yes. Because when I'm doing other things that are supposed to be fun, it's getting mad at Overwatch. Okay, so semi-big channel announcement here, guys. So I put out a channel update a little while ago talking about being really busy and just having a little trouble keeping up with stuff. Now, I actually think I found a way to get out more content than I was or the same amount of content that I was doing prior to being so busy now, and doing higher quality content simultaneously while giving me more time to do the other work that I have to get done, including writing more articles for the site and doing more back-end business management, because we're actually an LLC at this point. So my series Blips is returning. Now, people that have followed the channel for a long time probably know that I used to do 5 video uploads a week. I would do, Mondays would be a major video, Tuesday would be a episode of Blips, Wednesday would be our podcast, and potentially a bonus video. Thursday would be our a day that we would do like a tech news roundup that was quick, basically a shortened version of this podcast, just me super fast. And then Friday would be another review video. And I might actually bring that kind of summation of tech news back quickly, you know, a quick like 10, 15 minute summary of the big news topics. That may come back on Thursdays, I'm not sure yet. But what is for sure changing is Friday's upload is now going to be an episode of Blips rather than a review or a vlog video. Channel updates and vlogs type stuff will all be uploaded on another day, not according to the normal schedule. Monday will be a professional review video or professional project video with B-roll and all that other kind of proper stuff. Like this Monday, you guys should be seeing a review of a really nice pair of headphones from me, because you know this channel focuses mostly on PC hardware and audio gear, and so I'm going to be doing an audio review on Monday. But not this Friday. Maybe this Friday, but probably not this Friday. But next Friday is when Blips will be coming back. And in case you guys don't know what Blips is, that is a series where I basically take a complicated topic, but something that is very, very small. Rather than explaining motherboards in a 10 or 15 minute video, we're talking like explaining Intel's DMI link in their chips, which is a video I did in like 10 to 15, sometimes 20 minutes, but usually not that long. The idea being, rather than trying to explain a broad topic quickly, we want to try and explain a very, very precise topic in a lot of detail, but then it's still only a 10 or 15 minute video, because there's only so much you can talk about, you know, PCI Express revisions, or, you know, what kind of MOSFETs are on a motherboard or something like that, or RAM timings, right? Stuff like that. And so that's the series I'm bringing back, and it's just a little bit of less back-end work from me, because I can do reading and stuff like that and do the research and the writing on my downtime between various working on videos and other stuff like that. Rather than having to be here filming, I can be, you know, sitting in a car somewhere and be reading and studying this stuff and working on a document. I don't have to be here with all my camera gear, filming B-roll and stuff like that, like I would for a professional project or review video. Plus, I think if I was keeping up with the Monday and Friday review videos consistently, I may end up running out of things to appropriately review. And I also want the quality of the reviews to go up, especially in terms of benchmarks, as I want to be able to provide you guys with detailed graphs with tons of data. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of my plan for now. Now, the reasoning behind me being so busy, people, again, that maybe don't follow the channel super consistently, I do work 2 jobs now, technically speaking. I'm an IT manager at a pretty large company, as well as doing accounting work for another company, and then I'm running my own business. And so between those 2 jobs, you know, it's become more than a full-time job between just those 2 plus the business. So I wanted to do some stuff that I still want to get more content out to you guys, because I love making videos and I love doing what I do, but I need it to be in a way where it's quality, where I can be consistent enough to keep the subscriber base and the fans coming back, because my viewer counts have been not going up like I want them to. They've been flatlining at about where they are, and it's just that's not what I want to be happening, because we're small right now. I'd be okay with that if we were at, you know, 500,000 subs or whatever, right? So anyway, that's going to be coming back, so look forward to getting episodes of that out for you guys. Joe says do Blips on in-cable capacitors. That's a great idea, actually. You know what? Maybe I'm gonna make note of that, Joe. I'm gonna make note of that. Here we go. I made note of that. If I can type
note of that.
No, yeah, just type note of that. I made note of that because that's actually a great idea. I don't know when that one will be out, but probably within the next couple of weeks. So yeah. And Joe says the new schedule seems great. So yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. So definitely really excited to be doing that. And I think that's pretty much it. So this is the end of the 52nd episode. We'll be back next week. And starting Monday, my pure goal is to just never miss uploads anymore. And what's going to happen in terms of getting video production out, you know, if there's time where I'm going to go on vacation, I'll film it ahead of time. And all I want to see on the channel is basically consistency and then scaling up to more videos, but with still consistency.
Yeah.
So, and you might start seeing some videos from him on the channel more often.
I'm working on one.
Oh.
Huh?
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. I know which one you're working on.
Don't act surprised.
Yes, sorry. I forgot. Okay, so anyway, everybody, thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll see you all next week. Be ready for a video maybe Friday, but you should see one Monday. Have a great night or morning or whatever, wherever you are. Stopping the stream now. You should wave, Daniel.
I did wave.
Wave again.
No.
Okay, stop.